Welcome to the world-renowned Invest in Her podcast with your host, Catherine Gray. Catherine is a keynote and TEDx speaker, author, executive producer of the movie Show Her the Money, also CEO and founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation. Our weekly show of powerhouse women, founders, funders, and changemakers is sure to inspire you. Let's go.
Welcome to this week's episode of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation and executive producer of the new movie, Show Her the Money. Hopefully you've seen it. If not, check out our website, showherthemoneymovie.com. We've just come off a 100-city tour and may be coming to your city, or you could book a screening. So that's been a very exciting year, and I've gotten to meet some incredible people like our guest today. And she is going to be talking about her company, Athena Advisory Collective. And that is an entity that could help you as an entrepreneur help grow and scale your business. She has an amazing background and helps others to now build their businesses. Please welcome to the show, Aggie Chydzinski. Did I say it right?
Yes, it was
Okay,
perfect.
great. I always say that's the hardest part of the show is getting the names of my guests. So that's the biggest challenge. So Aggie, so great to have you on today. I love that you're helping other people build their business because you have an amazing background. And before we talk about what your business does, I want to talk about your background because you've been an operator and a strategist for several decades. Let's talk about that first.
Absolutely, would love to. Thank you for having me. It's always a privilege to hang out with other women who are attempting and succeeding and changing the world for business owners. So,
Other badass women, right?
yeah, I was going to say
There-
that, but then that would have
yes,
been a
yes,
plug-in for my podcast. So
yes.
I didn't want to be overzealous.
Yeah. So yeah, you do have a podcast called Badass Women in Business. I love it. I love the
Yes.
name of it. So yeah,
Yes.
let's talk badass women in your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So I fell in love with business after college. Actually, I studied business in college and really didn't know what I was going to do with it. And my entrepreneurship professor, because that was my background in college or my major, invited me to run what was at the time one of the top technology incubators in the country.
Wow.
And I had not heard anything about incubation. I'm originally from Europe, so business in Europe is conducted very differently. And my
What part of
introduction to
Europe?
entrepreneurship happened through college. I was born in Poland and raised in France.
Wow. Oh, how interesting.
Yes.
And
And so
came here at what age?
21, I believe. If I
Oh,
could, it was somewhere in the early 2000s. And
wow.
I had graduated from a university, an American university in Paris, France, and transferred all of my credits and did a little over a super senior year at the University of South Carolina.
Cool. So you started to coordinate this incubator and learned
Yes.
about entrepreneurship through this?
Exactly. We were specializing in transferring technology from the School of Engineering into the marketplace. And so that was my first aha moment to where thinking I've always thought that being an owner or founder basically required an original idea. But through this channel, I found out that you can actually buy the idea and develop a business around it. And for about 8 years, I watched basically scientists and commoners or business people pair together and develop these crazy companies. And I think the latest stats that we reported on in those 8 years is that we had helped develop and start over 200 businesses in that 8 year period and created, I mean, thousands of jobs in the community. So we were a public private entity, and that gave me my first entrepreneurial bug because when I was looking to what comes next, started a janitorial business that I exited out of, and then started my journey as sometimes a turnaround CEO, helping companies that were maybe a little behind what modern technology was showing up as, and helping them get where they needed to be. And also always spent my time in the startup space until I saw a pattern that every 4 years, after my 8 year stint, every 4 years, I was working myself out of a job, getting bored, getting a niche for what's next. And so hopscotching. And then I had my daughter, took a little sabbatical, and discovered that if I wanted to be in perpetual building mode, helping other businesses was what I needed to do. And here we are.
I love that. So that's what Athena Advisory Collective does. I said, see here that I read that, it's a non-equity partnership.
Yes.
So you're not even taking equity in the company. You're just helping them build their business. Is that right?
Yeah, we've always been, my business partner Christy and I have always been into kind of the private equity model, but we feel that taking equity out of a business also changes the stakes a little bit if you want to give advice that is not linked to your personal success. And so we found that model to be effective for business owners who wanted to maintain the equity of their company without bringing outside investors, but getting the advantage of business partnership. Because we show up, we partner with our the business owners that work with us as co-CEOs, as business partners, and we help them take the business wherever they want it to be, whether it's they're wanting to buy a business and they don't know how to proceed. So we review all of the documents, help them with the due diligence, connect them to the right parties, but also make sure that that integration is happening the way it needs to business owners that come to us that are stuck at a certain revenue mark and don't know how to get further down the path of growth. And finally, those that are planning an eventual exit and want to increase their enterprise value or plan their succession, or have in mind somebody that would potentially want to acquire them.
And, I see that you work with businesses from those earning 300K to 50 million. So it really runs the gamut. I think that these services you offer are so invaluable, and that so many businesses are out there thinking, or not even knowing maybe that one of the best ways to grow a business could be to absorb another business, right? So I love that you help guide them with that, that you help them prepare for how and when they're going to exit. And I love that you're like, co-CEOs to help them build the business. I don't know hardly any founder out there that couldn't use that help. So what is the obstacle that some of these businesses have to bringing in someone like you? Is it just that they can't afford it, or they can afford it but they don't know it? I always say if you bring in someone like what you're doing, you will grow that business. You'll be able to afford it, right? That's the way I look at it. But I know a lot of people, they want to have that, all in place first, because I take it there's a retainer.
Right. Of course, there's a retainer, but
Sure.
it's much less expensive than paying a salary to someone who can
Right.
take on some of the burden that you have. And at the end of the day, Catherine, I think that entrepreneurship is extremely lonely, whether you're a solopreneur or whether you're in a partnership. I know that partnerships sometimes, both business partners tend to have very funneled vision because they are really focused on where they're taking the business and they're not seeing all of their blind spots. And so we have the advantage in coming in as outsiders and see all of the things that you don't see. And also, usually, when you start a business, you're very industry focused. We have the privilege of working cross industries. We have our preferences, but we've seen anything from healthcare, manufacturing, professional services, and creative agencies. And so a lot of those things, transferable skills, we have transferable problem solving skills. And so when we solve a problem in one industry, then we become really creative and see if it applies to another industry as well. And so it makes us a little bit more versatile. I think that the primary roadblock to business owners is relinquishing control and being open to somebody else giving them feedback on whether it is. I've listened to one of your latest podcasts, which was about financial clarity and knowing your numbers. And so we have the privilege of really focusing on finance, operations, sales, and leadership. Those are our 4 areas of expertise. And so we help not only bring financial clarity, but also think strategically about how to use those financials in order to maximize your enterprise value. And we tie them to everything. So the value of the services that you offer in your sales approach, redefining your ideal client persona, making sure that you're serving the right demographic in terms of people who can afford you. So I don't think that paying us is ever an issue, because we also spend a lot of time before we even come on board with a client and partner with a client in qualifying them and making sure that they are the right fit for us and we are for them. It's a mutual partnership, so it has to go both ways.
Yeah, and I love that, because a lot of them can't afford to bring in a full-time CEO, and maybe even don't want to, because, they have their own ideas and mission,
Right.
but to bring in someone like you all that, can work in that capacity, I just think that's really cool. I really don't even know any uh, entrepreneurs that couldn't use those services. So I'm really glad that you developed this company. I think it's such a unique niche,
Thank you.
and you have such an incredible expertise and variety in your background that you really bring a lot to the table. So basically, you all could work with anybody in just about any genre.
hmm Yeah, and that comes also from building our bench of people who have the expertise in certain industries. And we're very quick learners. So one of the homework that we have to do before we even onboard a client, if we haven't been in that industry before, is get a quick master's degree in that industry and do a ton of research. So there's a lot of pre-work before we even start working with a client, so that we can understand what is their TAM, what is their SAM, what are their available markets, like who are their competitors. We do analysis upon analysis so that we can have intelligent conversations with them and we can meet them where they are.
Do you have any clients that you could talk about that, you've joined forces, helped them grow it? I always love to share success stories if you're able to do that.
Sure, absolutely, without revealing any names. So this is a
Sure.
really cool story. We onboarded with a mental health practice about 4 years ago. And it was a woman who wanted out of her practice because she was burnt out and wanted to start something else. And she had hired an executive director with the thought that that executive director would take over the practice. And so when we started working with them, it was more of making sure that everybody was comfortable and the executive director would really take over all of the functions and grow her leadership skills, her financial clarity, and also all of the key performance indicators that would make her practice grow and successful over time. And the growth pattern since that acquisition was done, or that transfer was done of ownership, has been insane. I mean, we've grown that practice 35% year over year.
Wow,
And so
that's
not only
amazing.
did we make it profitable, but also we've increased the efficiency of how the revenue is made by helping them identify better ways to acquire clients or patients, however you refer to them in the mental health space. So that's one of the examples. Another one is we started working with a outsourced CHRO firm, so chief HR officer firm that basically helps companies solve their human capital problems. And this was a Hail Mary story to where the owner came to us and said, I'm either working with you and we make this successful, or I'm closing the doors. There was a lot of financial pain in that business, and also that ideal client persona was not well identified, and so we helped them with that. And that company has 10x'd since we started working with them 4 years ago as well. So those are two of the many examples that we have in terms of scaling companies through systems, but also helping them identify when to hire, pull all the triggers, increase their value prop, because perceived value is value actual to me. So if the client or the prospect can understand what it is that you offer, how you can help them, what needs you solve for them, then you can price pretty much whatever you want, as long as you are tapping into the right client demographic.
This sounds like such a rewarding thing that you do.
Yes, it is. Because we take just as much pride that the owners do, because we consider ourselves as, owners, even though we don't have any equity. But to us, like I think the biggest reward and the biggest compliment that we have is those business owners that 4 years later, 5 years later, they're still working with us because we're still providing value. Because as a business grows, the need expands with the business. So the needs change, and we're continuing to grow and making sure that the owner who is now out of the day-to-day, that's the ideal situation. Because if you're as an owner operator, if you operate too much in your business, then your enterprise value is pretty much stagnating. So if you're thinking about exit, even if it's in 10 years, you have to think about removing yourself from the day-to-day of your business, because otherwise no buyer will want to take over your business, because they want a turnkey solution. Yeah. And so they're thinking we're helping them be bigger visionaries and show them that if they want to expand, we don't have to expand internally. We can go acquire somebody who's offering a complementary service and helping them identify the company, negotiate the deal, draft the LOI, and then work with brokers to make sure that that is happening in the right time.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. This is such a great conversation. And too many people do tie their business to themselves. And I love that you're showing they have to extricate themselves and show that the company will still build without them, so that someone would acquire them. Right. I love that. I love that. And I also saw that you work a lot with, family businesses. I can imagine there's a lot of people out there, maybe even inheriting family businesses that, aren't that prolific with that family business, or maybe don't want to be in that family business. I could totally see them bringing in someone like Athena Advisory Collective to help them, to navigate that, to create it so that they could then find a new buyer for that, if it's a family business that they don't want to stay in, which I think often is the case, right?
Yeah, it's so the first thing that we do with family businesses, and I have so many case studies on that because I had the privilege in being in one, not my own family business, somebody else's, which has taught me a lot of lessons on being in a family business without being a family member is hard, especially when you turn it around and then all the people who said they weren't interested come back and are suddenly interested. However, I think that in family businesses, there is this really interesting dynamic to where people are extremely open with each other, and yet there are a lot of things that remain unsaid because you have more to lose than just professional relationships. This is about personal relationships. So when a business starts and you're bringing on family members to help you start it, at some point in time, the business tends to outgrow a lot of family members. But because they have been here since the beginning, there is a sense of duty from the owner or from the group of owners that we cannot let them go. And so we have the advantage of being impartial and neutral parties that can say the things that need to be said without causing too much commotion and rift off relationships, but also set up that family business to be a highly functioning business. So the first thing we do is to make sure if there are successors, that they are equipped to take over and they have the knowledge that it takes in order to take the business over. And if if there are no successors because the potential heirs are not interested, they have their own careers, and the last thing they want to do is to continue in the same path that their relatives were going towards, we identify takers
Yeah.
to see and basically give them their options, because again, often when you're in the business, all you think about is the business, and you're constantly in the business and you never work on the business. So we make sure that that on the business path is very clear and without any debris, so that we can position the company at a higher enterprise value, and also with all the things that are necessary for them to maybe at some point in time sell it.
Love it. Love it. Such an essential service that you're offering. And I can
Yeah.
imagine there's so many people out there that need it. So how do they get a hold of Athena Advisory Collective? Is that your website?
It's athenaac.com. AC stands for Athena Advisory or Advisory Collective, and also for Aggie and Christy, the two co-founders
I
of the
love that.
business.
Double entendre there.
Yeah, so athenaac.com, and you can also, I mean, we're very active on LinkedIn. So you can find both Christy and I on LinkedIn. We love connecting with people. Like I said, we spend a lot of time with business owners, whether it is in a professional transactional relationship or in just a relationship. We love helping people. One of the things that we do is we have skill labs that we're actually starting to open to the outside world, because it was for clients by clients, but we've had so many people requesting. I'm posting all of the recaps and the videos so anybody can catch them, but having the privilege of asking the questions live is huge. So we invite everybody to show up to our skill labs.
Very cool. And your business partner's name?
Christy O'Connor.
O'Connor. And
Yes.
then, sometimes people are listening to our podcast, but they don't see the spelling. So I'm just going to spell Aggie's last name for you. It is Chydzinski.
Yes.
So you can find her on LinkedIn. You can also find me, of course, Catherine Gray, Catherine with a C, Gray with an A, on LinkedIn as well. Their website is, go ahead again.
athenaac.com.
AthenaAC.com. You can check it out if you'd like to learn more about Athena Advisory Collective and see if it's a good fit for your company. You can also, of course, find us at sheangelinvestors.com, where we also have lots of resources to help you with everything from fundraising to learning about investing in venture capital and angel investing. And also our movie site, showherthemoneymovie.com. If you haven't seen it, you'll want to check it out. And the website will tell you where we're going to be, or you could book a screening. Aggie, thanks you so much for being a great guest today. Everybody, check out the Badass Women in Business podcast as well, and make it a great day. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much,
Aggie.
Catherine.